everyone, it's Sevy. I started playing Wuthering Waves in around late August to early September, so it's been about like 2.5 months at this point. And I actually wanted to make this video after I finished the 1.3 story content before jumping into 2.0, but that kind of got delayed. So I'm making this video now where I just want to talk about how my experience has been with Wuthering Waves thus far. As like a newbie player who's still in Union level 40, who doesn't really log in every day, but logs in pretty frequently. I just wanted to tell you like how it's going. So maybe you're an older player and want to see how the new player experience is so far. Maybe you haven't picked up Wuthering Waves yet and are wondering if like it's still a game that holds up to this day, or if it's like another gacha game that's just going to eat your time and your guilt for possibly not logging in. I just wanted to share my honest feelings and thoughts about Wuthering Waves so far. So let's talk about it. So I guess just for like a quick disclaimer and POV, I'm someone who's played Genshin Impact for 5 years, and that doesn't mean that this is going to be a comparison video between Genshin and Wuwa. It's just like this is where I'm coming from. And again, I'm someone who doesn't log in every day. I'm currently Union level 40. I mainly play Wuthering Waves for this story because I've been told like Wuthering Waves is a really good game with really good story, like 2.0 and onwards. And I'm gonna talk about that in a little bit. I also have like a relatively small character roster. I've only pulled for 2 limited characters, which are Brand and Shuyen. At this point, Chisa hasn't come out yet, by the way, the day of recording. And then I don't do a lot of echoes grinding, but I have recently. I've been working on my exploration recently, and oh, I'm not free to play. I did break free to play for both Brand and Shuyen because I wanted them really badly. And again, I wasn't logging in every day to like get all the free to play stuff. But yeah, so that's kind of my POV. So I guess to start off, Wuthering Waves as a game and as an experience and just like engaging in it has been really, really fun. It's been a blast. Like just stepping into the world, I was a little nervous at first because the last time I'd ever touched Wuthering Waves was when I played the last closed beta test. And there were a lot of things that I felt iffy about. And honestly, I'm kind of glad that I waited this long, or that I waited as long as I did, because back then when Wuthering Waves had come out with its 1.0 and 1.1, I did not have the bandwidth to pick up another open world game. And I was still in a very highly FOMO mindset. So I'm actually glad to come back or to revisit it and to actually start the proper game when I decided to just a couple months ago, because the way I've been enjoying it, it's just been really fun. And I'm going to tell you the many things that have made it fun thus far, starting with the story. So for reference, again, yesterday I had just finished Rinasita Act 4, which was a big main story quest that had a lot of Cartithia about it. I'm not going to spoil anything, but that's where I'm at so far. I've done the 1.0 main quest, of course, 1.1, 1.3. I did Camelia's companion quest, and I did Encore's companion quest. And I haven't really done much of the other companion quests thus far because I've been trying to like bum rush the story in a way so that I can catch up to where the current update is at. And I'm trying to see if I can get through the 2.x stories before 3.0 comes out. The chances are looking a bit slim, but that's what I'm trying to do. Anyway, 1.0, a lot of people can agree that it's kind of rough. And I felt that a lot. When I played through the 1.0 story, it felt a little bit weird. It felt a little bit janky. And one thing that got me a lot was Yang Yang. I think a lot of people, like when I was playing through it and I kept saying like, Yang Yang sounds kind of sleepy here. It's kind of like making some of the dialogue drag. And this isn't any shade to like, you know, the production or the voice acting, of course, but there were a lot of rough patches in 1.0 that made it a little bit difficult to enjoy. And I think a lot of people kind of are just like, yeah, but when you get past 1.0, it gets a lot better. So I got past 1.0 and then got to do Jinshi's part in 1.1, and that already had significant improvements. I actually didn't expect it to improve that fast, but once we got to Jinshi's part, it had significant improvements because the writing was much tighter. The plot, it was contained to a much better level, because sometimes, especially in 1.0 stories where they're trying to establish a lot of things, go through tutorials, establish characters and settings and whatnot, they have this tendency to like go all over the place. And then they try to introduce a lot of acts so that people have a lot of content to go through in the first patch and like sink their teeth into the game and have things to do. And that kind of just adds to the clutter that stories in 1.0 tend to have. But then 1.1 comes around and Jinchi's arc as Resonator with Jue, it was very enjoyable. And the pacing of it was much, much better. And the pacing of the stories generally is something that I've been enjoying a lot with the Wuthering Waves main quests, because they don't feel too long. They don't feel like when Netflix shows try to bloat their episodes just to reach a quota of episodes, or when they're unnecessarily trying to add runtime to it. 1.1 was good. 1.3 with the Black Shores with Shorekeeper, I actually really loved that quest, and a lot of people can agree that even if it was pre-Renacita, even if it was pre-2.0, that's still a fantastic quest that holds up today. So far, the 1.x quest, like 1.1 and 1.3, those were particularly good already to me, but then when I got to Renacita, I was like, oh my god, there is so much more to this game. And you know, the introduction of Renacita 2.0, like personally, I didn't feel like it was the most like tightest writing it could have been, but that's also because they had to establish so much of it. But I just really enjoyed the world and cast of Renacita going into it, that I didn't really have a lot to complain about. Like, Renacita has been beautiful so far, and doing the Cartithia quest just recently, or the main quest just recently, has also really added to that, because I actually enjoyed the character arc that Cartithia had there. Again, I'm not going to spoil anything, but generally I find the writing and pacing of Wuwa quests to be like just at a very good level for consumption. I know it feels weird to phrase it that way, but I really like being able to consume those quests in one sitting, and like it's digestible for me. I know there are some people who don't like to do that, but for me, I honestly like, I can sit there for 3 to 4 hours, and the main quest, I get the full story. Now, aside from that, the writing of the quests have also gotten very natural feeling, you know, because you don't like it when characters go too much into exposition. They start to sound like a history book or encyclopedia. And I really like that they include the narrative cutscenes to cover that exposition so that characters don't have to, because those narrative cutscenes with the illustration styles, they're so beautiful. And aside from that, I love how expressive the characters can get, not just with their dialogue, but also how they get animated, and everything just keeps working so well together. And I'm very satisfied with the story thus far. I don't know how the rest of Renacita will go, or how I will feel about Septimont, but I've kind of just been told it gets better and better, and I really hope that's true, because it makes me very hopeful and eager to keep going into it. So the next thing I want to talk about are the characters, and I'm gonna touch on this just from like a story and design standpoint, because I want to talk about the combat a little bit later. Now, the characters of Wuthering Waves, like design-wise and model-wise, obviously as someone who just come from Genshin Impact, the models took me a while to get used to. But you know, as I got used to them, I was like, damn, these are actually very beautiful characters. Like, they're gorgeous. They're actually just visually very pretty, both the men and the women. The model physics, okay, like I have mixed feelings about the model physics, because you've seen my videos about like Chuya, and you've seen my videos about other male 2D characters. I love just like thirsting over these guys also. I can enjoy very bouncy model physics as well, you know, both for men and for women. But I will say that there are some times where I feel like it gets to an unnatural point where, you know, as someone, I was telling this to my chat yesterday because Cantarella appeared in the main quest, and I was like, you know, as a boob haver, I'm pretty confident boobs don't move that way. And see, it's fine. Like, you know, I'm not going to yuck your yum. Like, you go enjoy however these models and body parts move. But personally, there are some times when it just feels like kind of jarring to a point where I don't really enjoy it. I'm like, oh, it's there, and it always catches my eyes. Like, I can't help but I'm sorry, I'm weak. I'm just as bad as many of you guys. I can't help but stare sometimes. But you know, sometimes it just takes me out of it, and that's just a personal taste thing. You know, you enjoy the models however you want to. But I will say, like, again, the models for the most part, they are gorgeous, and even to an extent that I find the NPCs very beautiful even, and I really hope 3.x onwards brings in more male characters. Anyway, when I played the closed beta, you know, they had the 1.0 characters there, And I didn't really like how most of the designs at that time were kind of like black, white, and then accent colors, because I like things to be colorful. I'm very much a person who likes colorful designs. So when most of it was like black and white base, which I kind of understood because it was like a sci-fi post-apocalyptic type world, so it's not like they're trying to splash color everywhere, right? It was a bit of a turn off for me, but thankfully the designs have gotten much more exciting, vibrant. They vary a lot more and they're more interesting since then. I think some of my favorites color-wise are Brant, Carlotta, and Chacona. And these designs, like, I find them very memorable, and there are some others like Cantarella, of course, like very gorgeous designs that actually bring out a lot of vibrance and color into the cast of characters, which I enjoy a lot. I also think one standout design for me has actually been Frolova. I don't even have her on my account, but I think she's gorgeous. And when I saw her splash art on Twitter, it was honestly one of the things that made me think very, very hard. Like, I actually think I want to start Wuwa. You know, it was one of those things where I really liked her splash art. And I know I'm gonna see more of her. I'm tempted to pull for her because I think she's gorgeous, but that's for Sevy in a few months to probably think about. Or I don't know, Sevy next version to think about. We'll see. Aside from that, with the character designs, the voice acting has also been phenomenal. Like, as a primarily Genshin player, really interesting to play this game where you have a mostly European cast with European accents come in. Like, sometimes we get like a heavy Scottish accent and I'm kind of like taken out of it, but then I'm like, oh, actually that was cool. Like, there's a lot of personality to be had with the diversity, like, of the accents of the cast here, because, you know, it's like most of the time, like, no two characters sound the same, not even just timbre wise, but even just like how they talk. I really did admire how Cartithia in the Act 4 that I just recently played, like, that's one voice actor that did Cartithia Fleur-de-Lis, and then she even sounded different as Cartithia towards the end of the quest, which was really impressive, and it helped a lot with the immersion. And I think, like, the talent and the skill is there, and the casting hires have just been really amazing for this. Now, aside from that, I also am so amazed at the marketing budget, or at least like the YouTube video budget of the production of Wuthering Waves, because I did that whole video where I was like looking through the character showcases and they go so hard. Like, how are they all cinema? I don't understand. Like, I think past Shangli Yao's showcase was when I really started being like mind blown, because I was like, how does it keep getting better than this? But it just did. So I was pretty surprised, and just the standard that they've set for the showcases, the Resonator showcases and the combat showcases, I've just been blown away by, and I just enjoy it every time. It's like watching a short film. I also really like how in the official video marketing, or just like the official marketing in general, we see both male and female rover all the time. So it's just like, it's canon, you know, it's canon throughout all of the showcases, all of the videos, all of the promos, that both male and female rover are, you know, they exist. You can be whoever you want to be and you're not going to feel like left out of it. So those are some really, really big points that I enjoy about like how Wuwa has been treating their characters, or like designing their characters. And it's just really fun seeing them pop up in the quest. And I actually enjoy that, you know, sometimes the characters, their role in the quests aren't really forced, or sometimes they just get teased and then they're there and, you know, they dip out. But now, tying into like the story writing and story treatment and the characters of Wuwa, I do want to point out that I really appreciate how alive the world feels. Just the world in general, because not just in terms of open world exploration, but also in terms of like the story treatment and the world building. So starting at least with the exploration, I noticed that the echoes interact with each other. Like, sometimes they're fighting each other, and I found that really cool. Like, I see echoes fighting in the distance and I'm like, I didn't trigger that. And yeah, it's because they're actually interacting with each other, and the environment has like some other interactions as well. And it kind of took me a while to get used to, because before I changed my color settings, it made me feel like the environment was somewhat empty, and it might have just been some of the 1.0 areas or the Jinzhou areas. But later on, when I started getting more into the exploration of it, I started noticing that, oh, the echoes, they actually add a lot to the environment and the liveliness of it. And then aside from that, there's also NPCs that have some fun dialogue that are kind of interactive and self-aware as well. Like, there's an NPC in Jinzhou who tells you not to run. Like, she's kind of a security guard type person, and she tells you not to run when you go near her. It's kind of funny. There are also some cute interactions in Jinzhou here and there, but Rinasita, when I went to Rinasita, one of the most memorable moments for me in Rinasita was when I was playing through the quest where Carlotta Carlotta encounters the mask maker, I remembered walking up there, hearing someone singing, not knowing where it was coming from, finishing the dialogue scene, and then I was like, wait, are those mask echoes singing up there? And I thought that that was just a really cool detail. And it just added like another level of life to it. I just really enjoyed that detail. And I think Rinasita, or at least Raguna, is full of those things. Like you have the bathtub that walks around, you can sit in it. You have like tentacle chandeliers, and it's those details that you feel like, oh my gosh, they put a lot of love into this, because paying attention to those details is what truly makes those things feel alive. And you also get like some quirky things out of achievements. Like there's the atheist achievement that made me laugh so much. I just find like as I warmed up to the world more and more, especially entering Rinasita, I started being able to see and appreciate like how much they actually pour into it. And then the open world experience for me, like as a newbie in this month, like in this day and age, it's actually a lot more manageable than I thought it would be, because of the wings and because of the loot tracker. So they only made the Jinjo wings accessible to new players recently, like in a recent patch. And since then, I've been taking full advantage of them. It's been a lot easier getting my open world exploration in now that the wings are available. There are some open world areas that are locked by exploration quests, which I found interesting. I haven't done all of them, but I'm trying to work on them so that I can raise my union level and get my exploration up also. But the thing is, I'm not really a completionist type person. And honestly, like I said earlier, I wasn't super invested in exploring the open world or like getting all the chests and everything. But I have recently gotten more into it so that I can level my union level and my data bank as well. And I'm finding more and more that there are just some really great areas to explore in Solaris, like whether that's Rinasita, Mount Firmament, or Huanglong. Like I've just been enjoying it a lot more that I spend more time into it. Now, I think I've already brought this up briefly, like the music, but overall, I've been really happy with the music experience. I was skeptical of it during the beta, because during the beta and during 1.0, I think they mostly had like the EDM synthy stuff. And as cool as that is for sci-fi foreboding vibes, it's not really something I want to listen to all the time. You know, it's not really something I super vibe with. And I know that Huanglong being like a China inspired city, it does have like those Chinese melodies here and there, which are nice to smatter in between. But I think that as I played through 1.1 and 1.3, I started to hear more interesting melodies that were like more layered, more beautiful, more orchestra based, which I enjoy way more than like EDM and synthy stuff. Just personal taste, by the way. And I really liked Black Shores because we even got like this whole piano melody that was given some story and character meaning into it, and that was really beautiful and it stuck with me. And then entering Rinasita, like it does have a lot of beautiful music throughout the story. There are moments when it really just hits there, like with the very epic scene. Most of the time, it's not disruptive. It's not so disruptive that it takes me out of the story and the scene. Sometimes it's just so good though that it like draws attention to itself, but it's not disruptive, right? And then for the most part, because it's like beautiful in the background and helping the scenes, when I do notice it, I'm never disappointed. And Rinasita so far, like it's kind of just expanded that variety of music that they can do. I will say that probably because I haven't been as invested in Wuthering Waves as I was like throughout my Genshin playthrough and all that. Like I don't really pick out individual bangers from like the scene music or the background music, but I have listened to some of the character EPs like Lupa and Chuyen. And of course I listened to the music and the Resonator showcases, and some of those are just like so good. Some of them are such bangers. And even the music and the songs that played during Act 4 with Cartithia, like I really loved those when they came out. And it's just really nice to see that Wuwa actually has a lot more music to explore and enjoy than what I initially thought there was upon release and the last closed beta. Now, I do want to touch on the combat, and this isn't going to be very long because like I said, I've been mostly a story-focused player. But, you know, I have been enjoying the combat a lot. I don't watch guides for Wuwa's character builds and optimal rotations, which some of you might find ironic since, you know, I used to make guides. But I don't really watch them because it's not something I'm trying to like focus on right now. And I I do the in-game tutorials of the characters that I want to play so that I get a grasp of what the characters actually do. And my chat does give me some solicited advice here and there on which characters do well together, but you know, I mostly prioritize pulling characters that I enjoy, hence my Brant and Chuyan situation. Hello, I put them on a team together. I don't even think they really strictly synergize that well together on a team, but I like them and I like seeing them because their animations are so slay. And this is gonna be my biggest thing about the combat. And I know this isn't even directly related to the combat, but Wuwa characters' animations, like, they slay so hard for like no reason. I mean, there is a reason, and it's to sell them and to make players happy, but sometimes they just go crazy. You know, when I saw Yuno's character animations, I was like, what is going on? Like, how do they even pull this off? Like, she goes down and she goes up and like the environment's different. It's like, what's going on? Like, there's so much, you know, and even Shorekeeper's animations and all that, and Brant gets aerial combat, and what do you mean Chuyan can stand on a bamboo pole as his idol animation? Like, there's so much going on, and it's kind of crazy, to be honest. Sometimes it's almost too much for me, for my brain to comprehend at the moment, but I just really love it. Like, the animations go so crazy. I'm getting a bit sidetracked, but anyway, going back to the combat. My chat also tells me a lot that the 1.0 characters, most of the time, they still hold up and stays meta, which tells me that unless you're really doing the challenging content, like, the combat isn't something you have to stress over too much. And in a sense, like, I relate to that as a Genshin player. I do like that you can just throw whoever you want, and as long as you learn to dodge and parry like to a moderate amount, and you learn how the characters' attacks work, like, for the most part, you're pretty okay. Like, you're doing okay. I do hear a lot of things like get Shorekeeper or get Verena for like timeless supports, which, you know, sounds like solid advice, except currently I have no way to pull for them. I've gone through most of my Wuwa journey with just Baiji on my team, and it's been okay. Like, some fights go slowly because my characters are underleveled and because I don't have like a super damage focused team, but I'm okay with that. Like, that's the thing, I'm okay with that. I'm not stressing over it too much, and I just keep going back to, in my head, how there's so much detail in the characters' combat animations that I wouldn't care if they do 1 damage or 1 million. It's just beautiful. And I love that about them. So yeah, those are a lot of the huge things that I just enjoy about Wuwa and that have made this experience such a blast so far. Now, there are actually just a couple of things here and there that I want to comment on as things that I feel lacking, that I want to see more of from them. I already said this, but more men. Okay, second, for real, this is the co-op content. I found myself wanting to try like a fun stream video concept that involved co-oping holograms. Apparently you can't do that. And I found that so weird that you can't do that. I don't know. I guess I like had this expectation that difficult content, that permanent difficult content would typically be co-op available, but apparently it's not. So I actually feel like Wuwa would be a lot more fun for me, especially like as a newbie player who has a lot of friends who are like high leveled, if we could do a lot more co-op content together. I know that you can do open world stuff and you can do open world bosses. I think there are a few more things here and there, like the farming domain, I guess, that you can do in co-op, but I would really like it if I could co-op holograms, because that sounds really fun and that sounds really interesting. But that was kind of just a main thing. It's like I find myself wishing a lot that, oh, it would be fun if like I had a friend who could come in and then we could try out this hologram together, not for an achievement or anything like that, but just because I think it would be fun to see my friend who's like high leveled and I'm a baby, and then they're doing like 1 trillion damage and I'm just watching them carry me, and I thought it would be funny, but I can't do that. So that's a little bit of a bummer. Aside from that, I guess one thing I will say is it's taking a while for me to get used to the fact that Rover is like the character that everyone falls for. In Wuthering Waves. I know that some people take issue with this. I know that some people say it's a nothing burger, and some people really like it, you know, being the absolute most overpowered, oh my gosh, hero of the story. But I did Shorekeeper quest, or Black Shore's quest, and then shortly after that I did Camellia's quest, and I was like, why does this feel almost the same in terms of how Shorekeeper and Camellia are like holding Rover as like their idealized apple of their eye? I know that they like story-wise and lore-wise there are legitimate reasons for it and how the characters are written, but I'm just pointing out that this seems to be like a very frequent dynamic where Rover is kind of just like the person that every character is like gravitating towards, or like is attracted to. And I know that that's not anything new. Like, who am I to talk as a Genshin player, right? Like in Genshin, the Traveler is the main character, and all the other characters, they pour out their traumas and baggage and hopes and feelings to the Traveler, because we're like like the witness to things. But I think that's also kind of where it jars me, because as a Genshin player, there have been main quests and arcs where the traveler is merely a witness. They don't feel like the main character all the time. And I actually enjoy being like a fly on the wall in a way, or like being a witness to someone else's story because they get this amazing character arc. But then here in Wuthering Waves, there are a lot of times that everything goes back to Rover, because spoiler alert, I guess. Spoiler alert here. Rover is like Grand Arbiter. Rover made the Black Shores, and then Rover started all of these amazing things. But Amnesia arc and past life and all that kind of leaves some mystery to it, right? It's just that things keep going back to Rover, and that's something that I'm still getting used to. And I do recognize that a lot of the other characters, like a lot of the playable characters, they get their own huge character arcs also, and I really love it when they get to do that, because it's what makes their characters so interesting, and what enhances the story a whole lot. But then I guess when it goes back to Rover, like, oh my gosh, Rover, you're practically God. When it goes back to that, I'm like, I get jump scared almost, because it's like, oh yeah, this is about Rover. It might sound like a stupid thing that I'm nitpicking. And I know that this is very heavily personal taste, which is why I'm not really trying to frame it as like a criticism. It's just something that personally I've had like mixed feelings about, just here and there. And sometimes, yeah, like it comes down to personal taste, honestly. I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't at least mention that, or at least my feelings about that. But that being said, I've just really been enjoying Wuwa, and I actually don't have a bunch of negative things to say about it, because if I'm gonna be completely honest, like, I'm enjoying it at a relatively casual pace. Again, I don't even log in every day, and that's because I've done my best to separate myself from gacha FOMO, because I don't like being beholden to doing dailies every day or making it feel like chores or anything like that. So I'm enjoying it to a casual degree, and in a way that I'm only going to be invested in this game for as much as I'm having fun with it. You know, if I start stressing about it, if I start feeling like there are more negatives to it, and if I start finding way more negatives to it, honestly, I don't even think I'll want to talk about it. Like, I'm just gonna want to leave, you know? Thankfully, that's not the case. But I'm just saying that if I had a ton of really bad things to say about it, maybe I'd talk about it and then I'd stop playing the game. Thankfully, Wuwa hasn't done that yet for me. I really love playing the game. And I truly think that if you're curious about it, go ahead and pick it up. If story-wise you're a bit concerned, if you can trudge through 1.0, and if you can even enjoy 1.0 a little bit, like, there's so much more past that. I do agree with everything my viewers have said thus far. One last thing, this isn't actually like a Wuwa related thing, it's more of like a people thing, but I get a lot of times, like, when I upload my main quest playthroughs, when people are like, oh, this quest is better played as male rover. And there are a lot of reasons to play male rover. I have a viewer who plays male rover because they just like men, which is very valid. Sometimes I get comments where it's like, I like playing this as male rover because it fits so much better. Okay, I'll stick to female rover. That's just my personal whatever on it. But anyway, that's all I wanted to say about Wuthering Waves for the meantime. I actually will check back in on this topic once I've done more of the 2.x main quests, because there seems to be a lot to digest after that. And I do want to revisit this, and I think talking about Wuthering Waves is really fun. And if you want to watch me play Wuthering Waves live on stream, you can catch me on twitch.tv/Sevy_plays as I try to catch up on the 2.x main quests in the lead up to 3.0. That's going to be all for this video. If you enjoyed, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to my channel for more content, and I'll see you soon. Take care.